Hello, this is the Provoked Prawn, and this is the Logitech G733 Lightspeed wireless RGB gaming headset. This is a wireless headset designed for PC and PS4, and this is an unboxing and review video where I'm going to be talking to you about this headset. It's worth noting this headset is available in 4 different colours. You can get it in lilac, blue, white, or black, and I've been sent the black variant for some reason because it's the most boring of the 4. Unfortunately, the other ones are much nicer looking colours and are interesting in that way, and that's one of the selling points because it's not only available in different colours but it also comes with the option of straps that can be purchased separately that you can see you change on the top. You can change the colours of that, and mic covers, a number of different funky things, and I'll leave the specification and information on that sort of thing in the description so you can check that out. A number of other features for this headset include Blue Voice technology, which I'll show you later in this video, and you can hear the difference between that. I am using the microphone from the headset to record the voiceover for this video, and it's on its standard settings at the moment, but later on I'm going to show you the Blue Voice technology, which basically on the fly adjusts the EQ settings of the mic and does things like noise cancellation, de-esser, compressor and other things to improve the capture quality, and you can tweak that and personalize it, and that's one selling point that makes it interesting. It's also designed to be lightweight, weighing at 278 grams, which means it's comfortable and sits nicely on the head and doesn't nag at you if you're wearing it for a long time. And I must say it is nice in that way. It's quite loose fitting though, and I'll show you a bit more on that later on. Also has up to 29 hours of battery life with the lighting turned off and 20 hours with it turned on. The lighting is another point that you'll see, where basically it has 2 strips at the front of the headset with RGB lighting on them. This is probably aimed at gaming content creators and streamers who want to show off some RGB lighting while on the stream, so you can, their audience will be able to see bits of RGB goodness going on there, and you can customize that. Again, I'll show you that later on camera and within the software and how you can adjust it. Now this headset comes with 40mm G Pro drivers and a frequency response of 20 Hz to 20,000 Hz. It also has a 48 kHz sample rate that you can access within Windows sound settings, and it has DTS Headphone X 2.0 for spatial audio surround sound. And sound wise, it's not been too bad an experience. I find it quite nice, and I'll go into a bit more depth about that later on. Now you can see the design of this headset is fairly unusual. The way the size of it adjusts is on the ear cups rather than on the headband itself, and it also has that material headband strap similar to SteelSeries ski goggle headbands. That is detachable. As I said earlier, you can change those out, so you can purchase different coloured ones and you can swap out the ones that's included. There's black glitch, purple glitch, lime glitch, mint glitch and orange vector, which are basically bold and striking colours, so you can change that out in future if you want to, just to customise the look and feel of it. Inside the box you also get that Lightspeed wireless dongle, which you can plug in to your PC, and a USB-C charging cable, and then a removable microphone. So it's worth noting that you can take that microphone off. It's a cardioid microphone, a boom mic with a frequency response of 100 Hz to 10 kHz. And can see already that the mic is quite compressed. It doesn't deliver the best audio. Once you mess around with the Blue Voice settings, you do get a bit of a better quality, but it certainly doesn't compare to a standalone USB microphone or a dedicated mic. That is a bit of a shame. The USB charging cable is a USB-C charging cable. It's not terribly long, but it does the job and it's fairly good. Now this is a wireless headset, obviously, so it offers that freedom of wireless goodness, and it has a good battery life to it, so you won't find that you're charging it too often, which is nice. A close-up of the headset and you'll see that it only has a pretty simple affair on it. There's a USB-C charging port, the mic port, obviously, there's a mic mute button about the rear, and a volume wheel. That's it really. There's no other dials or buttons for other controls, it's fairly straightforward and simple. You'll see both the mic mute button and the volume wheel are ridged, and I will say I do feel like these are a bit flimsy and not terribly great in the tactile feedback that they give you or the response that you get from them. And I will note a bit later on a problem I had with the volume wheel, and so if you've had issues with it, check out the end of this video and you'll find out more about that. The mic mute button doesn't offer much feedback in terms when you're pushing it in, you can't really feel it going in. There is an audible cue within the headset to let you know. The power button similarly doesn't really let you know, there's no beep or anything to let you know that you've turned it on, but what you will notice is that the RGB lighting turns on. Now I said it is a lightweight headset, it is designed to be quite lightweight and it is very loose fitting on the head, so if you're looking for a headset that clamps to your head, this is not it. However, that setup with the material band on the top is really nice because you don't have plastic or metal pressing against your head, you've just got this soft material on top, so the headband's really nice. And I will note that the ear cups themselves are fairly decent. They're a nice large size, not terribly deep, but just deep enough and wide enough that it's comfortable for my ears and it isn't a nag. One thing that I have found though is that the headband doesn't extend quite long enough for me, so I can't adjust the position so that it isn't pressing against the top and bottom of my ears in a satisfying way. So sometimes it can be uncomfortable. This is really going to vary depending on the size and shape of your ears. You can remove the ear cups and get access to the drivers, and that's worth noting because in a minute I'm going to show you how you can take off one of those and get access to the battery compartment, and that means that you can swap out the battery in future. So if you're worried about having a wireless headset with a battery that you can't get rid of, then that's good news. Now these are meant to be memory foam cushion ear cups. You can actually take them off and you can see that cushioning, and it basically just looks like a bit of sponge in there. Does look a bit cheap, and this headset isn't terribly cheap, so it's a bit of a shame that you aren't getting a nicer, thicker, more satisfying memory foam cushioning going on there. However, it is satisfying and comfortable to wear. It's not too bad. I'm not a big fan of this material. It kind of reminds me of SteelSeries and Corsair's material. It's kind of scratchy, it's not terribly comfortable, and it's a bit of a shame. If you're looking for something more comfortable, I'd definitely recommend Logitech G Pro X Wireless. Much nicer fit and comfort to that, a bit more expensive. I'm going to do a comparison video between these two in the near future if you're interested though. Now you'll see the RGB lighting happening here, and it's quite bright and it does show up on calls. If you're on Zoom calls, I've had it while I've been working, showing up and perhaps distracting people unnecessarily. It's quite in your face, but you can turn it off within the software, and I'm going to show you that a bit later on. Now here you can see that extension of the headband again, and it's just showing it doesn't go terribly tall, so I do think that that's potentially a problem for some. The fact that you can detach the microphone is nice though, so if you have your own standalone microphone on a boom arm as I do, then you can take that mic off, you don't have to use it. There is side tone on the microphone that you can turn on within the software, but it's not on as default, and that's worth noting. You can bend that microphone in and out and get it into a good position though, so it's fairly good. So mostly from what you can see so far, it's a fairly decent headset, and it does do a good job in that way. It delivers a fairly rich sound, and I have enjoyed using it. I found it good for music, and it does go really loud. It is quite a loud headset, so I've not had any problems with volumes there. The positional audio is good too. The DTS Headphone X surround sound is good, but one thing I have noted in playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla, for example, is that the audio is not as rich as I'd like. It hasn't got the same range to it as other headsets. It just feels a bit tinny for some reason. Not really sure why. I think I've been trying out a lot of higher quality headsets at the moment, but I just feel like this isn't quite as good as Logitech's previous offerings. It is a bit more affordable, but I don't think you're getting the same quality, so if you can afford it, I'd say stretch out and get the G Pro X Wireless instead. That said, in the other colorways and things, it is a very funky looking headset, a really nice design. I think the black one is probably a bit boring and you should probably go for the white one or something like that, but it is a fairly decent setup for what you're getting. The wireless connectivity is about what you'd expect and what I've seen with other headsets. The range is about 20 meters in terms of wireless range, which basically equates to a couple of rooms for me. That's going to vary depending on the layout and setup of your house, but I find that it cuts out and then automatically reconnects when I walk back into the room, so it's not too bad. I've seen worse and I've seen better. As I said, the battery life is also decent. They say you can get up to 29 hours with the lighting turned off and 20 hours with it on, and I've found that I haven't charged it much at all really, and you do get notifications. So the RGB lighting turns red and glows red, and you can change that in the software to let you know when it's running low, and you'll also get a notification within the G-Hub software, and it defaults to a low power mode to save power as well. So there are various different settings and customization options, and you can also set it so when it's not in use for a certain amount of time it'll turn off. And I found that power saving technology is pretty intelligent, and it means that you're not regularly plugging it in, which is certainly nice and something to bear in mind. Now, one of the problems I did note with this, and hopefully I'm a standalone example in this, is that when I went to take the driver off to show you where the battery is, the ear cup was already coming away, and you can see it here. And I discovered the reason for that is that 3 of the 4 screws were missing from this side for some reason. They weren't in the packet. You could see the packet was sealed, so this is a new headset, but for some reason the screws were missing. Not ideal, but it did make it easier for me to then remove that plate to be able to show you where the battery is. In a second I'll show you the screws that you need if you have this problem and you want to replace them, because luckily I have a box with them in, so I'll link to that in the description in case you need them. But here you can see the battery, so you can get access to it if you need to. So if in the future you found that you ran this battery out and you want to swap it out, it is possible to do. You can see it there, and you can get fairly easy access to it with just removing 4 screws. And those screws you can see here, fairly tiny. So the one on the left is the original, the only one that was installed in that ear cup, and then I managed to get some other ones, and they are M2 screws, and the M2 star 5 that you can see here. And I will put a link to this box full of screws in the description, because it is a nifty little thing to have around, especially if you're a PC gamer and you've got lots of screws that you need to mess about with. Close-up looks at the headset and you'll see a very nice looking device, and actually, as I said, that memory foam cushioning does sit comfortably on the ears, and I haven't had a problem with it. And because it's lightweight, it basically goes through the whole day, and I work all day long with this headset on and then play or edit video at night and get a fairly good experience, and I've not had any nagging issues in terms of comfort. And now we're in to the Logitech software. This is the G-Hub software, and here I am off to the side just because I wanted to show you a couple of things before I dive into this. I'm going to include a clip from a recent stream that I did to show you this as well. Obviously, part of the selling point of the G733 is this RGB lighting that you can see going on here. What you'll notice in this stream is it looks like it's broken, because it's only showing some colour and then there's bits that look invisible. What's actually happening there is I've got a chroma key applied because there's a green screen behind me, and I want it to be able to show that this disappears. Obviously I don't want my background appearing, I want people to be able to see the game, that's how I like it. And you can see when the green, when it cycles through the rainbow colours, when it goes green, that bit basically goes invisible, so you can't see the greens. You're just seeing behind me, which in this case is the software. Now obviously you can change the RGB lighting within the software, but it's not necessarily an issue. And it's certainly worth noting a couple of other things as well. One of the things I noticed before I dived into this is another issue that you might have too, and if you do, this is the solution. I found that the volume wheel on the headset sometimes won't respond. It doesn't seem to want to work. It suddenly stopped working, and I couldn't adjust the volume on the headset, but you could do it within Windows, or if you have a media key on your keyboard, for example. And I looked it up, and you know what the solution is? It's to unplug and replug the dongle, or try a different USB port, which sounds ridiculous, but it actually did work. I swapped it to a different USB port on my PC, and it was working. But it was very odd because it was working fine on that USB port for a while, and then suddenly it stopped working, and then the volume wheel wasn't working. And it seemed to be when I installed G-Hub, which was interesting. But also without G-Hub you don't get the same options in terms of sound. It doesn't seem like it's as good quality. So now I'm going to go into the G-Hub and show you what you can do in here. As a standard, you can see you have the ability to adjust the volume of the microphone, the side tone, which is obviously the sound you're hearing in your headset, hearing your own voice. As standard, side tone isn't turned on, so if you want to hear your own voice when you're talking, you need to go in to the G-Hub software and adjust this. I've now set it to maximum because I like to be able to hear myself. It's worth having because the headset does block out some external noise, so you do struggle to hear yourself sometimes. It's not particularly active noise cancelling or passive noise cancellation. It's not fantastic in that way, but it does block out some. You also see that you can turn on the advanced EQ settings, and you have a number of different presets to choose from in terms of bass, cinematic effects, blah blah blah, first person shooters and stuff like that. Things that interest gamers more likely though is the surround sound. Now you can enable surround sound in here, and you'll see it's DTS Headphone X 2.0, and you can then choose between different modes: entertainment, gaming, or sports. And you can also adjust the super stereo mode and adjust that. You can also adjust the position of the virtual speakers and even the volume of them individually, but this is all set up as standard. Now, one thing I want to say about this headset is that I didn't feel like the DTS Headphone X surround sound did a very good job, and I was surprised because other headsets I've tried with exactly the same technology deliver a better sound. There was something off about this headset when used in gaming. I found that the quality wasn't as rich. It was a bit tinny at points, and it surprised me that the quality wasn't there. The positional audio is good, but I didn't. Some games, and it wasn't all of them, I just feel like the quality's not as good as something like the G Pro X Wireless, which I'm probably going to compare this headset with a bit later on as well. I find that interesting. Now, one of the other selling points, of course, of the G733 is the Blue Voice software. This enables you to basically change your voice on the fly. So I'm going to do that now and show you what the difference is. I've been recording with all the settings on default, so you can hear default microphone sounds. But now if I click to enable the Blue Voice software, and it automatically sets to broadcaster 1. One thing you can do is you can record a sample of your voice, then play it back, and that allows you to then adjust on those on the fly, because in my head I'm not hearing any differences here. I'm not noticing the difference as I change between them. The side tone's the same, but what it does is it adjusts the frequency of your voice with these EQ settings. You can see low, mid and high, and it automatically does that and makes your voice change on the fly so that it's a bit better, a bit nicer. You also have advanced controls, so you can do de-esser, noise reduction, expand the gate, things like that. What you will notice is the voice becomes quite compressed, but it does take away some of that background noise. So you'll note, for example, now we've got noise reduction and all these turned on and up reasonably high. If I start typing on here this keyboard, using Cherry MX speed switches on, you probably won't hear too much of it, and it makes quite a bit of difference there, and it's good in that way. It means that you don't have to worry too much. If I turn this off and then carry on typing, you probably hear a lot more of those levels because it hasn't got any of that intelligence applied to it. It is cool to have that thing on the fly and be able to just turn it on and off and adjust between them. I think I prefer broadcaster 1, probably sounds the nicest. But you'll notice this is in wireless mode, and this is how the mic sounds. It's not terrible, but it's certainly not as good as having a full dedicated XLR mic or a proper full-blown USB mic as a separate option. It is a selling point. Another thing you can do is you can change assignment of the mute button. So the mic mute button at the rear, you can adjust that as standard. This is set to mute audio input, but you can change it to other things. So for example, I've just set it to pause or play music. So just press that and it turns on a bit of Harris Heller, and turn it off again, and you can disable that or use default. As standard, when you have that mic mute input, you get an audible sound in the headset, but it's not a terribly tactile button. I feel like it doesn't register the presses very easily, or it doesn't feel like it's not that good. I don't like the mute button. It doesn't push in really nicely. It doesn't give a good tactile response, but you do get an audible cue in the headset to let you know that it's muted. Now, the RGB lighting is another thing I was going to show you. You can see cycling through You can do a screen sampler so it shows off the same as what's on the screen. Another one that's interesting is an audio visualizer, so that when you've got sound playing, that will come up on the headphones as well. So for example, it's playing a game, you'll hear the game, you'll see, like if there was an explosion in game, you'll see the RGB light up, which is pretty nice. And then obviously fixed colors, and you can choose between different ones. You can change lighting zones. You'll note there's light sync available as well. And you also see that you can choose between 2 different colors for each section, so it has top and bottom. So let's change the bottom to fixed. We'll make that blue, and then the top, no, maybe not blue. Red, and red, and then make it green. You can't see green, of course, because of the chroma key. Green, red, and blue. There you go. Now that's not causing any problems with the chroma, and you can see the colours showing off there. But you can cycle between some various simple ones. The screen sampler allows you to choose an area of the screen to sample. You also have a battery level gauge, and if you go into the top here, you can see how much longer you've got left, and you can do settings to turn off the power after a certain amount of time. Found it's pretty intelligent at turning itself off, and that's not an issue. And so there we have it, the G733 Lightspeed Wireless. Hope you found this video useful. Let me know in the comments if you've got any questions. Thanks for watching. This has been the Provoked Prawn. Thanks for taking the time to watch this video. Hope you found it useful, interesting, hilarious, or all of the above. Be sure to check out the description for other information you might find interesting, and subscribe and watch these other videos as well that I think might be useful to you. And have a great life.